Welcome to Brave Awareness. I'm Ronn Pawo McLane, meditation teacher, author, and poet, and someone who's done their fair share of surviving. This podcast isn't here to teach you how to fix yourself. It's here to remind you that you're not broken. These are spoken transmissions for modern minds, reflections, disruptions, and sacred interruptions. Let's begin. Last week I left you with something. I said, next week we go deeper into what happens when an entire room full of people encounters the same thing and experiences it in completely different ways, and what that tells us about every argument we ever had about anything. So this week I want to make good on that. Here's what I want you to imagine. A group of people, same room, same event. Something has happened that none of them chose and none of them can undo. Maybe it's a loss. Maybe it's a rupture. Maybe it's a change in the world around them that they didn't ask for. Same event. Every single person in the room. And yet, watch what happens. Some of them begin to move. Slowly, painfully, but not forward. They are not okay with what happened. They are not pretending. But something in them is able to see it clearly, to stand in the reality of it, and to begin, one day at a time, to live again. Others are frozen, not because they're weaker, not because they care less, but because something inside them will not, cannot, fully land in the reality of what occurred. They are still in argument with it, still fighting the fact that it happened at all. And still others are moving, but sideways. Busy, productive, functioning, but carrying something they have never fully looked at, because looking at it feels like agreeing with it. Same room, same event, three completely different worlds. Why? I think it comes down to one thing. One confusion that lives so quietly inside us that most people have never, ever noticed it's there. The confusion between accepting something and approving of it. If you read the book Brave Awareness, my book, you already know the 5 A's. Acceptance is the third. Awareness, acknowledgement, acceptance, action, and authenticity. And here's something I have come to understand since writing that model. Most people who get stuck do not get stuck at awareness. They can see what happened. They do not get stuck at acknowledgement. They can name it out loud. They get stuck at the third step, right there at acceptance, unable to move into action or toward authenticity because something at the third A will not release. But here's what I've learned from conversations, from teaching, from watching people work with this material in their own lives. And when I look closely at why, in my own life and in the lives of people I've taught, I kept finding the same thing underneath. They had confused acceptance with approval. They could be aware, they could acknowledge, but they would not accept, because accepting felt like saying it was okay. And they would not say it was okay, because it was not okay. I'll say it again. And they will not say it was okay because it was not okay. So they protect themselves from acceptance, because accepting feels like losing, like surrendering, like the thing that hurt you wins. Today I want to go inside that third A and show you what is actually there. Acceptance is not agreement. It's not endorsement. It's not a verdict that says this was right, this was deserved, this is what's supposed to happen. Acceptance is simply this: acknowledging what is real. It happened, full stop. No story added, no argument attached, just this is the reality of what is. Approval is something entirely different. Approval is judgment. It says, I endorse this, I'm okay with this should have been. You can refuse that judgment absolutely, entirely, forever, and still accept that the event is real. Go back to that room I described at the start. The people who are frozen, who cannot move, who are still in argument with what happened, are often the most honest people in the room. They are the ones who feel most clearly that what happened should not have happened. And because they feel that so clearly, they will not accept it, because accepting it feels like betraying what they know to be true. But here's the paradox that costs them everything. Refusing to accept reality does not change reality. It only changes your relationship to it. And that relationship, when it is one of constant resistance, is exhausting in a way that compounds every single day. The people who begin to move are not the ones who decided it was okay. They are the ones who found a way to see it clearly while knowing it was wrong. That is what acceptance actually asks. Not your approval, your clear eyes, your clear vision. Now I want to come back to that room. Because the reason those three groups are having three completely different experiences of the same event is not about strength. It's not about love. It's not about who cared more or tried harder. It's about what each person was carrying into that room before anything happened at all. Their capacity, their conditioning, what they were taught explicitly or implicitly about what it means to accept something painful. What they learned early about whether seeing something clearly was safe or dangerous. Whether the adults around them modeled acceptance or denial. Whether grief was allowed or required to be hidden. This is why you cannot judge the person who is frozen. You do not know what acceptance cost the people who taught them how to survive. You do not know what they learned about what it means to let something be real. And here's where it gets personal. Because you may be that person. You may be the one who has been protecting yourself from the third A, because somewhere inside you the wire got crossed between seeing clearly and surrendering. You are not broken for that. You were conditioned. There are two ways to avoid acceptance. Two ways to protect yourself from the clarity it asks of you. The first is denial. Refusing to look, staying busy, telling a story about what happened that keeps you from having to feel the full weight of what is real. The second is collapse. Being so overwhelmed by what is real that you cannot function. That the event becomes the permanent address of your life. That you live there in that moment indefinitely. Neither of those is acceptance. Both of them, and this is important, are actually forms of approval wearing a different kind of disguise. Because both of them are saying, I cannot be in this relationship with this reality. Either I have to avoid it entirely, or it has to swallow me whole. The middle way is neither. It is the practice of meeting reality as it is, clearly, honestly, without flinching, without being destroyed by it. It happened. You did not approve. You are choosing to see it anyway, because your life is happening now. Not in the moment when that did. If this opened something for you, stay close. You can subscribe, share it, or... The middle way is neither. It is the practice of meeting reality as it is, clearly, honestly, without flinching, without being destroyed by it. It happened. You did not approve. You are choosing to see it anyway, because your life is happening now, not in the moment when that did. That is acceptance. That is the third A, and nothing in the practice moves forward without it. Here's something simple to try this week, and I want to be honest, simple does not mean easy. Think of something you've been struggling to accept. A loss, a betrayal, a circumstance you did not choose and cannot change. Ask yourself honestly, am I resisting accepting this because some part of me believes that accepting it means approving of it? If the answer is yes, even a small yes, try saying these 3 things out loud. Not as a performance, as an honest observation. This happened. I do not approve of it. And I am choosing to see it clearly because my life is happening now. You may need to say those words more than once, more than 100 times. This is not failure. This is the practice of working exactly. That is the practice working exactly the way it's supposed to. I want to come back to that room one last time before I let you go. These 3 groups of people, the ones moving, the ones frozen, the ones carrying something they've never fully looked at, are not fundamentally different from each other. They are the same. Human beings shaped by everything that came before this moment, responding from their capacity and their conditioning as best as they can. The most important thing I want you to take away from this, seeing something clearly, is an act of courage, not an act of consent. Now, I mentioned a room full of people. I want to go much further into that image in a future episode because there's a story that I've been building toward about a specific room, a specific gathering, a single thing that everyone in the room encounters at the same moment. And what happens next tells us something so precise and so uncomfortable about how we relate to each other that I'm still sitting with it myself. We'll get there. When we do, I think you will feel everything we have built this season land all at once. Until then, eyes open, compass steady. And that's enough for today. If this opened something for you, stay close. You can subscribe, share it, or just sit with what stirred. Brave awareness isn't a destination, it's a return. I'll meet you there again soon.